Okay, let's kick off there on our webinar this morning. First of all, welcome to you all. I know time is precious for all of us these days, so I'm literally just going to give you an overview of the tool, a query tool that Pimbrook has written for Sage 50. And the idea there is to basically query the Sage 50 data as easily as possible, getting access to valuable data that is stored in Sage 50, but not very easy to extract from Sage 50. Two very important points. It doesn't impact the number of Sage 50 users that you have. And secondly, you don't have to be a Sage 50 user to actually be able to use the AccountsMate. So they're very important features. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to just jump out into my AccountsMate. Sorry, I'm going to jump into Sage 50 first of all, just to give you an idea of the data set that I'm running from. So a couple of little things that we don't use enough of maybe. So if you've taken the customers, you take the analysis under the default, I'm going to use the rep field and the type, but you can see in the latest Sage 50, we have 6 of those analysis fields that we could utilize better. I'm going to look that the same is obviously in the suppliers. I'm going to look at the products, and if I take again a product here, we probably all know about the categories that are set on the main part of the product fields. But if you look to the web, we've got 3 different analysis fields here, more categories that we can group products by. And finally, I'm just going to have a look at the nominals. So we're also going to use the chart of accounts here when we get to the finance aspect of it. So this is where we break it up by the sales, purchases, expenses, overheads, etc., and the nominals that are in those groupings behind them. And last but not least, departments. Departments are great in Sage 50, but unfortunately the reporting is not as easy to take advantage of. So that's our Sage 50, the basis of the data that I'm going to be running from. Now, when you log in, the AccountsMate can be installed by yourself, but we can give you help if you need it. And you connect up to one or many companies that you have on your data sets. You will be given a number of modules, as you'd expect, kind of matching the Sage 50. So you've got your customers, and under there, we've got orders and invoices. We've got suppliers, products, data analysis. So all of these are around our AccountsMate and the areas that we search for data. Now, for the speed of the demo, because there's quite a lot of data here I want to go through, I've kind of opened up these number of tabs. So I've opened up the customer area, the sales order, dispatches, products, purchase orders, sales analysis, and the nominal analysis. So that will just cover quite a vast number of areas of data that's available to you. And one thing I want to show you is how easy it is to change and get more than one report from an area. So the very first one I extracted here was around the customers, a very simple list. And you'll say, well, I probably got that from Sage 50 anyway. But what I've got here is the account reference. I can pull down the account name if I want to. I've got the rep. I've got a contact name. I've got an email, credit limit. Now, very quickly, I can see the invoicing for January, February, and March, and that's the basis of the period of time I'm going to do all the data around for this webinar. But what I could do is very quickly, I could drag this rep column up into that gray area, and what it'll do is it will sort and report by rep. So it'll grab all of the, so Joanne has these 3 customers, John has these 3 customers, Mary has these 3, and so on and so forth. So very quickly with a drag and drop, you can see you can change the data very quickly. I can also look in, and I've created another report here based on the customer area, and I've just called it details and aging. So what I've got here is, again, I've got the account ref, customer telephone number, so I can do a little bit of debt collection by this. So I can see what the limit is, I can see what the balance is, I can see the aging of it, and down below, because I've clicked on a row, I can see any communication very quickly about that customer. So all I need to do is I can make a phone call, or what I could do is I've got the email automatically here. If I click on the green button, it jumps automatically into my Outlook. So I could very quickly send an email to that person with data that I have at the tips of my fingers. And I got various drill downs here on the right-hand side that I can do. I'm missing 30 days, but if I go to the column chooser and I come down, I can find aging of 30 days, add that column in, and all of a sudden I've got additional information there. I can sort these and put the balance to the end if I want to. So again, the ease of changing the purpose of the report very simply there. So if we look at the roles that we have in our companies, so this could be somebody ringing up and saying, where is my contact details? Where is my aging? I want to speak to the rep. You need to find out who the rep is. You can flick in here very quickly. But another common one around the sales orders could be, has my order been dispatched? So very quickly we can go into the orders. We could filter on the order number, and the order number comes in here. And we can see down below, if we click onto the dispatch area, we can see that actually you ordered 40, but only 10 has been dispatched. And that was dispatched yesterday. So I'll be looking up to see if there's any due later on for you. So again, we don't have to disturb a number of people to get some very simple information, there. Or we can look at maybe from a warehouse point of view, or the customer's point of view, if we had a look at a dispatch. So I want to look at what was dispatched yesterday. So I can see here that I have this order here, and I can see that, again, I'm picking the same order, so we can see the quantity and the dispatch there. I've created a new field for myself, short delivered. So instantly I've got that information to hand. And likewise, down below, you can see I can get the customer details, I can get any invoice details, and I can get any sales order details. So I'm not jumping around. I'm not having to create a number of reports and then join them together or export them out. And I can have a number of reports under each area that's here. So you can see I've got my short delivered here. I go back to my sales orders. I can have a number under here, and you'll see, like the customers, I had two different ones. I've got a rep one that we did earlier, and I've got the customer detail and aging. So you can save them for yourself. You can save them for a role that maybe you share with another person, or you can save them for the organization. So another query that may come into customer service, again, these are all being able to be dealt with by customer service, is maybe, do we have stock of a certain product? So again, a list I have prepared earlier. So we've got a product list. If I pop into that one, and I can see here what the sales price is, what the quantity is, anything that's on order I'm due to receive in, anything of the stock quantity that has been already allocated. So again, if I was running out of stock, could I take it from that customer? Maybe they have pre-ordered it and we're not ready to take it just yet. And then that tells me what's actually available to sell today. So again, I can give a customer very quick information without having to go to the warehouse, maybe when I have to go to the salesperson if they're unavailable. But not only that is, if I click on this product line here, you can see down here, again, instant information at your fingertips. Sales order lines, the dispatches of that product, maybe any purchase orders, any deliveries, and any adjustments that have been done to the stock. So you can see goods in, goods out, etc. So again, I can't express how simple that is to have that data there. And again, we've got further drop downs of information on the right hand side. if they're relevant to your inquiry, you can just drill in there. Another area I've used for under the products was maybe suggested purchasing. So what would help on that? Now, again, it's your own interpretation, what information you use. But again, I've just pulled out a couple of things like what's in stock at the moment, what's allocated, what's on order, and what's available, a bit like what I had on my prior one. But what I've also done is I want to see what's been sold in the last 3 months, because that might make my decision easier. And the other thing is I'm utilizing the two fields on the product file, which is the quantity reorder level. So I may have made those decisions, or there may be an impact from the supplier, and quantity to reorder. So whatever I get down to, I should be ordering this level here and who my supplier is. Now you can see that suppliers are all muddled up there, but if I drag, a bit like what I did with the customer, if I drag the supplier up here into the gray area, all of a sudden this report has now sorted it by supplier, so I can see this product here per my supplier, all the data much simpler. So I could just concentrate on maybe one supplier at a time, but I've still got the drill down the bottom of anything to do with the sales orders, dispatches, purchase orders that will help me. Another quick one to hand, I looked at again from the product, and I'm just showing you that I can get 3 completely different reports for different reasons out of just the product list. So I can see I've got lots of drill down. So remember I spoke just earlier when I showed you the product file, we were using not only the category, but we were using the web categories, and these are A and B. So I can see that in the consumables, there's paper disposables, and then there's toilet or hand, and then these is the product description. And likewise, I decided to use the quantity sold for this period of time. So all information. So customer service actually can use an awful lot of this information very quickly, and they don't need to be Sage 50 users, as I pointed out earlier. If we pop into the purchase order area, so again, I dragged my supplier up here, and I can see here all the purchase orders. So maybe what I needed to know was where they were. What's the status of these purchase orders that are outstanding? So I could actually put a simple filter in here and maybe type in part, oops, if I can spell correctly. So I just want to see what's still outstanding, opposed to, or maybe what has been received incomplete. So again, I could put in a date range. So I can look at date ranges that are equal to, not equal to, greater than, or greater than equal to. So I could be looking at deliveries for yesterday and seeing where we are today, what's being completed, or anything outstanding. And all I need to do is get rid of that. And I can see all of the orders again. And if I look at pick any order there, and I can see again my breakdown in my frame below, I can look at the deliveries here, and I can see that I had received 500 of the 600, and that it proves why it's sitting at the part delivered, because even though these are fully delivered, there's 2 part lines on it. So as the behavior in Sage 50, it needs to be flagged as part. Again, I can have any number of reports under this section here. Now you're all provided with an AccountsMate default, so there's always a starting point that you're being given at the beginning. That report can't be changed, but what you can do is you can start creating reports from it. So once we click the create, and we can put in a name, we click on save, and now I get to look at my column chooser, and I've got all of this information that I can use if I want to do further reports on it. So I can just literally take out all those details. So I may decide to do, I'm doing a supplier list, I want the supplier telephone number. I'm actually not interested on the delivery date. So I just drag and drop any of those pieces of information, and I can resort them. Or remember, we spoke earlier, and I can drag up into my gray area. So those areas there have a particular view on how we can quick filter, how we can drag up to the gray area, and they're all the transaction lines that are available in Sage 50. So there's a separate section called the data analysis. So all of the above area are all what I've just shown you there. So you can see there maybe the buyer, the warehouse, and customer service very quickly can use those. But what we have is data analysis. So this is a different view of, so this I would see maybe as your finance manager, sales director, possibly the rep, where if they want to track their own sales. But ultimately what we're looking at is trying to look at grouping product sales analysis, how the business is doing through a period of time. So the first one that I have here is just a very basic customer monthly sales list. So I'm going to filter on my month here because I'm only interested in this purpose of this demo, just looking at January, February, March. And what I've done is I've pulled out up on the top here, I've pulled out 2 years. I want to see basically January and February, March 23 versus 24. Now, the customer account number may not make too much sense to you. So what you do is you can drag down your customer name. And when you see these little triangles here, you can expand on that and you can just get the details. So I might just give you a little bit more details. Now, if I change that and I want to keep that report as it is, I just click on the save button. So now the customer name will stay down there. I can shrink, as I just said to you about the triangles, I can collapse all. So I can see this basically as just year on year. I could filter on the year and say, actually, in this report, I just want to see how I'm doing for 2024. I could extract and say, actually, I want to see January. And these filters are a bit like Excel, so I can see that here just to prove I'm still looking at. I've just got January there. Okay, so let's look at one a little bit more detailed. Let's look at customer by product. So you can see here what I've got is I've got the customer and I've got the product. And this is expanded out because these are all of the products the customer has bought in the period of time that I've been looking at. So again, I'm just going to shrink it up to January, February, March, so it makes it a little bit easier on the eye. Now, I can take off the quantity, and very quickly I'm seeing, if I want to just collapse that there, I can see Cork University across those periods what it is, the values are. When I expand out, I can see it per product. Very simple. Now you can see the line value is there. If I do add the quantity down into this section, you can see very quickly I've now not only got line value, I've got the quantity in that period of time. And please note, I'm only literally dragging and dropping these down, and I've already set my period of time here that we're doing it for. If I want to, I just need to click on save. Now, I spoke to you earlier about column chooser. Again, I have loads of analysis and details here about the customer that I can drag out if I wish to. But what I'm going to look at here maybe is a little bit more detail. I spoke to you again before about using the rep and the type in the customer analysis of Sage 50. So I'm going to utilize those now. So what I want to see here is, sorry, my months have just expanded out there. So what I want to do is I'm going to collapse this. I can see now Joanne's sales over these three, sorry, got to put March back in, over these 3 periods. Okay, I can see John's and I can see Mary's, and I can do a very quick kind of look between them or see where they are. Once I click out Joanne's, I see the customers. Now, again, I've got my little triangles. If I want to, I just want to see Joanne by her customer. I can then, as I expand, I can see by the customer name, and then I can see by the product. So I've got the rep by the type of customer, so hospital or nursing home, and then who she has sold to, and what are the products there. Very simple and easy to see there. I can collapse the years as I showed you earlier. We can filter on the year and we can filter on the month. If I want to look at quarterly sales, I've been talking about monthly, but I do have the quarter here. So again, I can see customer by product quarterly sales. Again, repeat myself and say I can just shrink these down to see the sales by quarter and utilize those. I have the quantity as I did earlier on. If I pop that in, I can see it there and it changes the report. And all I do is I might create this as a, let's say, sales value and quantity. So I've got a new report there, but I can go back to the quarterly report that I had originally, and now I've got a new one, sales value and quantity, and I can flick in and out of those very simply. So do I have any more there? Start with the customer. So you can see here I've created quite a number of them in the past. And hopefully that gives you an idea that what the manager can do. As I said, you could filter on, if we go back to the rep, as I said earlier, we could rep by product. So, and we could drag down the customer for them. So what we could do here is we could filter on Joanne. And we could expand out all the details. And we could actually export that out to CSV, Excel, PDF, whatever way you want. They're all the options here that we can utilize. So if we didn't want the person changing it, we can literally send them out like that. Or if we wanted to do, in case they wanted to do maybe a calculation and increase it maybe by 10% if they were trying to look at it, it's all exportable out for you. And the last area I'd like to touch on is, I suppose, from the finance area. So if we look at probably one of the driving factors was the sales analysis and the nominal analysis, because you couldn't get your P&L simply unless you'd done your year end. That is not the case with the AccountsMate. You can do this. Let's say year end was December. I wanted to run a P&L for quarter one. I can do that. So I talked earlier on and said about our chart of accounts. So I can use the chart of accounts. I can just pop it down, maybe make it look a little bit more simple there. So you've got your profit and loss, purchases, and then within that you've got the category names. And I could even go down to dragging in the actual nominal code for you. Now I'm just going to take that out there for a second, and I'm just going to filter on that, and I'm going to concentrate on the P&L, just like that. And I'm going to take off my code. So what I've got there is the breakdown of the sales, and I've got it over this period with my quarter, and these are the values. And if I want to, I can just click on totals and it'll give me the total for each year and the grand total there if I want to. So it's a flick on, flick off there. I've used my chart of accounts here. Now, if there's any reason that anybody doesn't like what they're seeing, as I said, you can literally drag down into the line detail of what's in the nominal posting if you wish to. And we can do your transaction date, so you can make sure that you can see if there's anything that you want to do, or if there was a problem with the transaction number, literally we've got the drill down there at a flick of a button, drag and drop all the information out as you need it. I had another one here. I'm just going to drag that back up again and resave it. And I have let's have a look of the profit and loss one. I'm going to, sorry, just click in the departmental. So I spoke earlier in saying that Sage Rose 50 was great to have the departments, but actually getting the data out was a little difficult. So what I've used here is I've used a P&L by department. So I'm going to just actually filter and take head office, just to keep it nice and simple. So you can see here, I collapse those for one moment. So you can see here that I have a head office P&L really quickly. I will need to take off my balance sheet, sorry. Should only be in Excel, perhaps. That's what affects the P&L. So you can see here, I've got a departmental P&L. And if I expand out, I can then see the groupings of it. So I'm right down to, and again, excuse the data, it's quite limited. Some of the names are the same on there, except the gross wages gives you a good idea where you can see 3 different nominals in the one grouping of the overheads here. So I've got my sales, purchases, direct expenses, and overheads only for the head office. And I can see the period of time. Again, I can do year on year, or I can turn around and say, I only want this year. So the idea is that you extract the data out and then you manipulate it along here. Now, that was quite a lot of data. I am conscious of everybody's time, but I'd like to, if you want to use the chat maybe, then I am happy enough to take any questions there. Okay, so let's have a look. Had a few of the questions come through there. Okay, one there is, how do I download AccountsMate? Yeah, so what you do is if you phone into support, what they will do is they will give you a link, and it's literally once you've admin permissions on your PC, you should be able to download it and attach it to one or many companies there. So hopefully that will help you, John. It is at the moment only with the Pimbrook contracts that we're providing AccountsMate for. It's one of the, I suppose, bonuses of being with AccountsMate, and it was one of the areas that we felt that people were maybe considering moving from Sage 50 was because the data of extraction. So that is for our customers there. We can give it as part of whatever contract that you have with us. Yes, so the departments, so if the departments are set up, I think in the Sage 50, as I was showing you earlier, then they will be, so once you're entering your data with the departments, we can do departments anywhere kind of relevant to analysis. So we one customer who was actually didn't do it, didn't want it actually around the nominal. They funny enough, they wanted around the suppliers. They were building houses, so they had obviously projects that they were doing. So they wanted to do use the departments on that. So we literally used the supplier list and used it there. Now I missed, just want to see, I just missed it. Would it possibly view this later as I missed almost 30? Francis, absolutely no problem at all. If you want to drop an email to me, I can put a session together specifically for yourself. There's no issue there at all. The customer aspect of it I use for the age debt. I know you've got age debt reports in an Sage 50, but I just found that the part of the filtering, you know, the quick filtering I was showing you, I could get rid of zeros really quickly, and that made it easier for me. Did I miss one coming in there? I think I might have, so I just want to check there, guys. Apologies if my chat seems to be a little bit slow. Yes, that's better. First of all, I've just seen a few others there. Is it only for Sage 50? It is for Sage 50 only. We've designed it so we are connecting directly to that data set. Can you bring an opening balance into the balance sheet? Yeah, we have to look back, Alice, on kind of going back in date range, but I could go through that with you separately. Under sales analysis, an account is allocated to a sales manager with a number of reps with sales customers. We do analysis either by, Connor, by the customer, or what I should have shown, apology, was that you have reps that you can put onto a sales order, and we can extract by either one or the other. Hope that answers that question, but come back to me directly if it didn't, Connor. It is a separate log on, Mary, but you can keep it open, so you can have your Sage 50 opened and you can have your AccountsMate open, and you can flick between the two. Again, because we have disconnected it from a user point of view. So in other words, if you have a 5-user Sage 50 and you've 10 people querying Sage 50 and you're getting people in and out of Sage 50, I would recommend that they use the use the AccountsMate. I hope we're getting there through them. You've also got under the customer, even just drilling into invoices, quotations, and going directly into the transactions. Missed that question. Training available? Yeah, absolutely. So if your contract is with us for the Sage 50, what we can do is we'll send you the link, get it downloaded, help you if you need to, connect up your companies. And what we can do is I can do, any of the guys can do 10-15 minutes to get you started. I always recommend picking an area and kind of mastering that, and then it'll encourage you to use it for other areas. All Sage companies at the one time, no, I don't think so, Alice, but I get that just confirmed in case I'm wrong on that. But I think you will have to log in and out. But the reports can be shared over all companies, so you don't have to keep creating them either through each company or for each user. I think that is all. Again, by the way, everybody, you can contact us at any stage, and we will be happy to organise. I'm just going to get my share up there for the details. If you can see it there, you can contact Gavin Support. Sorry, I just need to. Gavin Support, myself, give a telephone call in, whatever you feel. That's the support at pimbrook.ie. Please feel free. I want to thank everybody for taking the time and attending, and I hope you see how easy it is to query your Sage 50 now going forward.